It's the spring of 2011, and I am substitute teaching. Most of the students sit when I tell them to. I have a realization. These kids can do literally anything right now. What if I said sit, and they all said no and told me they were going home? The most I could say would be don't. Society functions based on the unspoken agreement that rules have power. Sure, there's some slippage around the edges, but that's what prison is for, the fringes. At the top, things are tighter. The American presidency has a succession plan that's 18 people deep. Except when it falls apart. It's the Middle Ages, and the Pope is arguably the most powerful person in the world. Except, whoops, suddenly there are 2 popes, and for a little while there are 3. Sometimes rules say one thing, and the subject says no. It's not the kids we have to worry about. It's the people with power. It's 2018, and Rockwell Medical breaks into 2 separate companies. Except, not really. Let's try that again. It's 2018, and Rockwell Medical exists. Its existence progresses through time linearly, an unbroken arrow hurtling forward. It's just like you or me. Then in the spring, its timeline fractures. The company holds a board meeting where the CEO is fired. He subsequently resigns from the company board. A search committee is assembled to find a successor, and an 8K is filed announcing the transition. That happened, but also, this happened. The company holds a board meeting where a vote is taken to fire the CEO. However, independent directors determined that the vote was invalid because it was not the stated purpose of the special meeting. The agitating board members are being investigated for breaching their fiduciary duty. An 8K is filed announcing the investigation. Filings with the SEC are the official communication channels for companies, but in this case, there were protagonists from each timeline with the ability to access this medium. Matt Levine's headline from Bloomberg captures the situation perfectly. Company isn't sure if it fired its CEO. Eventually, the timelines were glued back together by money. The fired CEO agreed to be fired, and Rockwell Medical was free to go back to its regular business, which was apparently just constantly destroying stockholder value. Okay, but that was a company with a market cap of a couple $100 million. That is the fringe as far as publicly listed companies go. How about this? It's 2019, and ARM Limited, a UK-based company whose CPUs are present in virtually all smartphones on Earth, fires Alan Wu, the head of its China-based subsidiary. Unfortunately for them though, Wu decides basically he's not gonna go. Importantly, he held the official company stamp and licenses. This stamp, also referred to as a company chop, can be required in China to give the final approval in all matters of business. It was needed to remove Wu from his position as legal representative of ARM, but he certainly wasn't going to use it against himself. In fact, Wu fired the 3 employees that ARM Corporate had promoted to take his place, and presumably he would fire anyone else nominated as well. Also importantly, Wu had the loyalty of many of ARM's China-based employees. Around this time, Nvidia was attempting to purchase ARM for tens of billions. There was a concern within China that this would mean that ARM technology would be restricted from use in Huawei phones, as Western companies had already been forbidden to work with the giant Chinese telephone maker. The Nvidia deal eventually fell through, so ARM decided to pursue an IPO, but again, having a large portion of the company going rogue proved to be an issue. The company could not produce audited financial statements without a sign-off from the ARM China subsidiary on their numbers. Wu was more than willing to sign. The problem was that if the parent company accepted his signature, then they would be acknowledging his power as CEO. So they got creative. They reclassified ARM China as an investment rather than a subsidiary, so they no longer needed the financial statements. The walls started closing in. The city of Shenzhen agreed to allow a new stamp to be created, and ARM again appointed a new CEO. It had seemed like it was over, but Wu did not give up. The new CEO breached the doors of Chinese headquarters, but found himself there alone. Wu had ordered all workers who resided in the city to work from home. The IT department, which remained loyal to him, filtered out any messages from new management. Eventually, though, again, money ruled the day. The Chinese employees no doubt saw that the tide was turning with the production of the new stamp, and when ARM guaranteed them equity incentives that would be quite lucrative if the company were able to IPO successfully, they began to crack. The company-wide email system began blocking Wu's messages. His position as CEO only lives on according to his LinkedIn page. ARM expects to IPO prior to the end of March 2023. It's today, and there's only one pope, but there's another religious figure threatening the rule of law. Elon Musk agreed to buy Twitter, then he decided not to. He has his reasons, but they're probably not enough to allow him to break the contract. However, there is one key difference between this case and any precedent.
It's unclear whether the order of the court would be obeyed. And the courts in Delaware, courts all over, are very concerned about issuing a decision or issuing an order that then is ignored.
Delaware risks being exposed as no more powerful than a substitute teacher. What if Delaware says you must complete the purchase and Elon just laughs? Laws are not inherently powerful. They hold exactly as much power as we give them, and sometimes powerful people choose to give them none. Thanks for watching, guys.